Head over to miniaturemarket.com where they have thousands of board games at discounted prices, and you can sign up for product alerts. Hello my friends, it's the Game Boy Geek here. For me, 2022 was an amazing year for gaming. I could have made a top 20 as easy as most years I could have made a top 10. I feel like this was a very strong year, so today I'm going to go over my favorite games of all different types of categories. Now recently, I have just released a ridiculous amount of videos where I've broken down a lot of these categories into the top 5 or the top 10s of each of these categories, but this is the one that's just going to have blow through all of the best of each of those categories. If you want to know more about which ones were on those lists, go to the playlist above and that will bring you to all my best of 2022, so you'll learn about a lot more games. So here we go. This is a game that I got a chance to play at Gen Con in a prototype. And when it came in, I was super excited. I've reviewed it, I've done a lot of things. It is co-designed by my favorite designer, Bruno Cathala, teamed up with the original designer, Marc Andre, to create Splendor Duel. Splendor itself is a great game, and it works really well with 2 players. This is a game that is so good, I won't ever play Splendor 2-player anymore. I'm only playing Splendor Duel because it is so good. They did not overly complicate things, but they added a very interesting, abstract way to get your gems. So now you have another level of depth to look at things and go, oh, I want these 3, or I want these 2, and those other 2 are next to each other. I might be able to get those next. They've also added another resource now, pearls, which changes things. There's only 2 of them. You can hog them, stopping another player from getting those cards. There's this whole like press your luck aspect of like, well, it's kind of like the game of chicken, where you're trying to maybe not be the person to refill everything. Because if you refill the board, that's great because you're going to get all the first choice. But the other player gets a privilege which allows them at any time take any 1 gem off the board. You got that. So there's a lot of splendor involved. Cards now have special abilities. So you might get a card and go, oh, I get another turn. Just like in 7 Wonders Duel that Bruno Cathala co-designed. There's also nobles that you can get, but they also get you points and or abilities. So you're doing that as well. Again, they've kept the core idea of Splendor there, but they've made it way more interesting. Abilities, abstract nature, it's phenomenal. When to refill, how to take the gems, new resources, new cards. It's awesome. If you like Splendor and you often play it with 2 players, this is the biggest no-brainer. This game is fantastic. 2-player game of the year, Splendor Duel. All right, here we are, my #1 dice game of the year. This one was a no-brainer for me as soon as I started playing it. And this also is a dice game that does not feel like a roll and write game. So it is a roll and write game that does not feel like one. This is Long Shot the Dice Game, and this is by Perplex, Chris Handy. This game is fantastic. This takes a horse, it's based off of their previous game, Long Shot, but this is the dice game, so it's a smaller version. Long Shot the Dice Game is a horse racing roll and write game for 1 to 8 players where you're trying to have the most money in the end by gathering horses, betting on them, and influencing them. So the horses will start at the line and they're going to be running around trying to be the first, second, or third to finish. And horses will be worth a certain amount of money at the end if they're the ones that win, but only if you're the ones that end up buying those horses. But you might not be trying to buy them, you might be making bets on the horses that you know are going to win or are likely to win to make a lot of money that way. And each round, a specific horse is going to move, but other horses will move as well. And over the course of the game, you can influence which horses will also move, making your bets more likely to succeed. All players will take action based on this horse, and you'll keep doing this until 3 horses have finished. But there's many other strategies, like breaking the rule of being able to bet on the horse in the home stretch, or changing the die to any color you want that round, or filling up rows and columns to get super huge bonuses. Most money wins. It is so fun because, again, it does not feel like a roll and write. It feels like a real solid game. And as other people are betting on certain horses, they're going to be trying their best to try to influence that horse as well. It's just so fun. It is just a blast. There were also some promo cards that had come out with different horses. This is one that's out of print for a lot of the year because it sold out so fast. But if you're looking for a roll and write game that does not feel like a roll and write game, but yet you want to have the aspect of like the excitement of horse racing, but you know, the thinkiness of a roll and write, but also some betting and a little bit of press your luck and a little bit of forward sight. This thing's awesome. The production's great. You got dry erase boards and markers. The horses look cool. The artwork's awesome on the cards, manipulating those special abilities. This is definitely a special one, a long shot in the dice game. All right, best expansion for me goes to Sagrada Glory. This is part of the Great Facades. It's a trilogy of small expansion. The reason why it's my favorite is because all these mini expansions have come with dice and a different way to sort of play the game, and then some other cards that you can mix in. And this one, whether or not even if you add the dice, it's really cool and it does different things, but even if you don't play with that, all the other parts of this expansion I would play with every time. There's like racing to goals. There's now more competition between players. There's secret goals you can select at the beginning or not that are worth a ton of points if you get them. There's a lot of different things in this expansion that I will play with every time because it has just upped the interaction between you and the other players, and it made a great game, which is Sagrada, even better. And if you want to play with the extra dice that do all the different things in this one, you can do that too. You can go see my full review to see why. But Sagrada Glory, again, I'll play with 90% of this expansion every time I play the game, and that for me was the best of the 3 mini expansions, Sagrada Glory, and that's the reason why it's my best expansion here. All right, so now we have my reprint of the year. And this is a game that was out many years ago, actually. And it was redone in both artwork and mechanisms and a lot of things in this. This is Libertalia, Winds of Galecrest from Stonemaier Games. Libertalia, Winds of Galecrest is a tactical card game for 1 to 6 players where you'll be using different character cards and their abilities to gain doubloons, which will turn into points in your treasure chest. Players start with exactly the same cards and will play them secretly and then put them in order low to high. And certain abilities are going to resolve, like the Brute beating up the top person, which is the cook, they're gone. And going high to low, those characters are going to be able to draft different loot for that day. With some of them giving you lots of money at the end of the round if you still have it, other ones allowing you to affect other players like discarding another player from that island. You can also play on a stormy side of the board that has much more meaner abilities. You can even customize those to your group's liking by using these tiles as well, playing with the slightly nicer abilities even on the meaner board. Some abilities might gain you things like doubloons at the end of each turn, and some might get you some things at the end of the voyage, which is at the round. Of course, these will as well. You're trying to convert these doubloons into points and have the most points at the end of the game, at the end of 3 voyages. I loved the original Libertalia. I loved it. It had like this, Pirates of the Caribbean looking theme. It was just sort of a little darkish, but it was awesome. Great tactical card game. There was a really wonky tiebreaker system in there that never really worked well. I wish there were more cards, things like that. So the original I really liked a lot. When this version came out, this new version this year, oh my gosh. It's amazing. They added a ton of new cards. They kept a lot of the abilities the same, but they added some new ones. They completely and overhauled the tiebreaker mechanism with reputation. And some cards are good for you when you have high reputation. Some of them are good for you when you have low reputation, depending on the card you play. And in this version, the loot isn't the same thing every game. You can decide whether you want to play a base game or like a pretty mean game or anything in between. You have the ability to do that. So they did a ton of things to rework this game. They also completely reworked the 2-player version of this, and they also did their Automa solo version here. So this is the best version of Libertalia by far. It's not even close. But the game itself was already awesome, and now it's even better. It's just so good. The fact that everyone has their the same 6 cards that they're adding to their hand, and you're using some of these, but you don't use all of them. But you get new cards in future rounds. So at the beginning, you all have the same exact hand, which is random every game, but you're all have the same hand. And as the rounds go on, your hands get slightly different. It's just such a clever thing, and the tactical card play, and the combos that you're trying to set up, and the timing of things, and the timing of when things trigger, and how to go for things for different things. I like games that have unlimited replayability. This game has it. Fantastic tactical card game that is made way better than it used to be. Libertalia, Winds of Galecrest. All right, here we are, number 1 party game of the year. Now this one, okay, So it's hard for me to travel right now. I've got 3 really old dogs. All of them have health issues. One's blind, one's deaf, one has a really bad foot right now. It's really hard for me to travel generally, and I almost was not going to go to Gen Con. And the week before Gen Con, I started looking through the preview list, and I saw this game, Ready, Set, Bet, from John D. Clare and AEG. And I looked into it, and I went, oh my gosh, this game looks like it's going to be like a cross between Panic on Wall Street and like Camel Up, you know? And I'm like, wow, this looks like it's going to be amazing. And I was like, hey, contact AEG. Is like, this going to be there? I was like, well, we're going to have a press event. You'll be able to see it and play it. We don't know if we'll have any copies there. And that alone made me book my ticket to Gen Con. And it's a big deal for me to travel, and it's very expensive. And I got there, and I had a chance to play this with the designer John D. Clare, the AEG folks, my buddies from Man vs. Meeple, and things like that. Check out this really quick clip of what this game feels like, this real-time horse race betting game that makes you feel like you're at the races.
Oh, there's a Snake Eyes moving along. There's another 9 in the second place.
Come on, 9.
10 advancing.
Yes, 10.
There's another 9.
Yes, no.
There's an 8 back into the
Take
lead.
an 8.
10 trying to gain.
Go,
10 with
go.
a bonus.
No.
11. There's another 8.
Oh,
coming
no.
in. There's a 7. No
7.
one cares.
Who cares about 7?
11, 12. Needs a bonus.
Go
Doesn't
eight.
get a 2, 3 way at the back.
Go eight.
There's
Come on.
an 8.
8.
2 more to go. 11, 12 needs a bonus.
No,
Not gonna get it.
11, 12.
4, 5 needs something here. 10.
From watching that, you will know whether you're absolutely going to love this game or it's not for you. There is no medium ground with this game. You're going to love it or you're going to hate it. And almost everybody I played this with, and I have played this with a ton of people, all love it. It is an experience like none other. It is a game that is just, I can see myself playing this forever. It's so good. The fact that you can play a very basic game with no prop bets, no special VIP abilities, no special endings, and just teach people the basic game. But if you're playing with gamers and you add those prop bets and you add the VIP special abilities, you add the special end game bets, there is so much going on, so much thinking going on in real time. You're trying to calculate all these things in your head, but you got to do it fast because other people might take the spot you want. There's pressure there. There's a lot of yelling and screaming like you just saw, people yelling at the horses. It creates an experience like no other game does. Panic on Wall Street did this too, but this just is more fun. It really has not replaced Panic on Wall Street because I like the aspect of the negotiation of that. But from an experience standpoint, I can't think of another game that does what this game does. And on top of all that, I love running the game. I love being the announcer. I've even come up with horse names that have to do with the numbers and make it all fun. Now the rules have a way that you could bet as the house. It's not as fun. But with the app that they released, I can run the game with the app, put a laptop or an iPad up there, and have the thing rolling the dice and playing music like in between. But then I can mute the announcer and I can announce. So now I can announce the game. I don't have to worry about the rolling. I can just announce it and I can bet like a normal player. So you have a lot of flexibility with this game. It's fantastic. It's unbelievable. If you like party games, again, by watching that video, you should know if this game is for you. This is a very special game that is going to be around for decades in my collection. And I'll probably be playing it forever because it's just so fun. Ready, set, bet. This next one is Mad King Ludwig, or Castles of Mad King Ludwig, I should say, from Bezier Games. Now, when this game originally came out, it was very highly regarded, but it had a lot of negative thoughts from many people online about the art and the graphic design. Well, Bezier Games was a smaller beginner publisher then relative to where they are now. And the game has been very successful despite that, and so they put in what they did with the Suburbia reprint a couple years ago, which they redid all the graphic and design and art and everything. It looks so beautiful. They did that same treatment to this collector's edition of Mad King Ludwig, and man, wow, they did a lot to it, and it just looks so awesome. All the new room design, all the new graphic design, they redid everything. It looks so, so nice. New components they did. They added a lot of expansions all together. and there is a humongous colossal version available, which you kind of need 2 tables to play, one to play on and one to hold all the tiles and stuff. But the art is so cool in that one that I can't go back playing the regular version anymore. It's just, you see all the details in there. So they changed it. And even in one of the expansions has even cooler components with big, huge towers that just look awesome. Oh man, they even have like a new bonus that you get with the towers. It's awesome. They changed the gameplay amazingly. They changed all the graphic design amazingly. The presence and the look and feel of this game. I mean, the presentation of this game's off the charts. So, Castles of Mad King Ludwig Collector's Edition, there's the Royal version, and then there's also, it comes with like poker chip style things for tokens, but then the Colossal version, ooh, baby. This new version's awesome. If you've never played this is the one to get. If you have the old one, this is the one to get. It's awesome. Castles of Mad King Ludwig, both either the Collector's Edition with the Royal or the Colossal version if you go crazy. All right, here we are, my #1 card game of the year. Now this one was brought to me directly from Richard Garfield, actually. He contacted me and said, hey, I've been involved with this game. I think it's really special. Want to take a look at it? I was like, yeah, sure. It showed up and it was, small little tuck box. I'm like, okay. And it took me a while to get to it because I was just busy and it's just like, whatever. I was just so busy at the time. But I finally got around to playing it, and man, am I glad I did. This game, I'm gonna get hate in these comments. And I must say, this is co-designed by Richard Garfield. The designers of the game, from what I gather from what Richard told me, had the game sort of well designed, and they asked Richard what he thought, and Richard sort of helped tune the game and do things like this. But his name's on it, so I'm gonna go ahead and say it. This is my favorite Richard Garfield game. Yes, Magic the Gathering people are going to be burning me a hole in my head with lasers. Mindbug is a dueling card game co-designed by Richard Garfield where you're trying to play cards to deplete your opponent's life to 0. Games are really quick. You only have 3 life points and totally 10 cards, 5 of which are in your hand at the beginning of the game. Turns are very simple. Play a card or attack with a character. Maybe they play this and another player plays this. But if this player now attacks, well, it beats it 10-3, it's defeated, but it's poisonous, so this card dies as well. So when this player played this character, well, that player played the Mind Bug, which steals that card from that player, puts it on their side as if they played it, and now this player gets to play again. But you only get 2 of these, so you're trying to find the right time to use it and draw them out from your opponent to put your best cards right after that. Now with the different abilities, smaller cards aren't always bad, it's always the right card based upon what your opponent has, a brilliant design. This game is so clean, so streamlined. I don't like combat card games. I love this game and it's a combat card game. The artwork's awesome. The clever twist in this game is that if I play a card, you can use one of your 2 mind bugs, which is the name of the game, to take that card and put it in your area as if you played it. Which is crazy, because when you play a card, you're gonna be like, do I have a backup for this? Do I have something that I can defend my own card with? Because if they take this and I don't have a defense for it, I'm hosed. So it's interesting because you try not to play your hand all the way out. Sometimes you try to play cards that you want them to think, this is my big attack. So they waste their mind bugs, well not waste, they use them. And then you can hit them with the thing that's really gonna cause them to go down. It's so clever. There's no resources to keep track of. There's no costs to play the cards. You're simply either playing a card or attacking with the card. When you attack, the other player gets to decide who defends. If the number's higher, they die. That's it. But the abilities of these cards and the way that these things interact, by the way, if you're gonna get this game, they also offer an upgrade pack, which basically doubles the number of monsters and cards that are in the game, and it's not that much more. If you're gonna get this, get the upgrade pack. The game is quite fine by itself. The base game's awesome. It's just fine. You'll love it that way too. But it's an incremental extra cost, and it really makes the game a lot better. I also had a promo card here with my dog Socks, my Greyhound dog, in this game as well, which makes me love it even more. But wow, combat card game that I never thought I would like this type of thing, but it is so streamlined, so elegant, so approachable, but yet so deep in what you can do. And I just love that any given card can be the best card in the game depending on what's out there. And that's fantastic. You don't get hosed because you have a 1. The artwork's awesome. It's just fantastic. Check out Mindbug. It has feelings of me for Baseball Highlights 2045, which is my favorite game of the year because of that whole I'm trying to draw out your best card. I'm trying to draw out your defense, which in this case is like a mind bug, and then hit you with what I really had planned. It's really clever. And it takes like 20 minutes to play. It's fantastic. Mind bug. My most innovative game of the year is Return to Dark Tower. Now, with Dark Tower, the innovation here comes, of course, with the tower. And because there's a lot going on in this game, there's a lot to manage. Going through the dungeons, there's things to manage. The combat, there's so much to manage. Could you imagine doing that combat system, which I think is very streamlined, but doing it with cards? It would just be a pain in the butt. You'd be constantly messing with cards, constantly shuffling these decks. It's so clever. You could just check, oh, how many advantages am I going to use? You do this, it tells you what it does. The app just handles that so well. But really what takes it off the charts is the fact of how this app is communicating with the tower what's going on in the game, the state of the game, what you've done in your turns previously, what you didn't do on your turns previously. What are the different sort of quests coming up? What are the different monsters that are available? Why is this one doing this? All these things, spitting out the skulls onto the board. There is so much that's going back and forth with the tower to give you an experience almost like how video games do a lot of things in the background that you don't see that makes the experience better. This does the same thing. And because it's doing so many things, and I've talked to the publisher at length of this, of the different things I had no idea, the things it was taking into account, the engineering behind this from a mechanical standpoint is ridiculous. But from a software standpoint is also, and a design standpoint is also ridiculous. It's just super innovative the way that they made all this work, where you're playing a tabletop game, but there's this huge physical tower that's also very physical, dropping skulls out. But the software and the app that integrates this game is so innovative. It is so audacious. It's such a big, they tried to swing and hit things out of the park, and they did it with this. Most innovative, Return to the Dark Tower. All right, here we have my number one family game of the year. Now this one is from Underdog Games, from designer Charlie Bank. And this is called Trekking Through History. Now he's designed other games in the past, Trekking the National Parks, Trekking the World. There was a Trekking Trivia game. This is Trekking Through History. This one, like many of their games, looks absolutely beautiful. It's absolutely gorgeous. The artwork in this game, it comes with a neoprene mat, trays that hold everything awesome, great components. The production of this is amazing. But the game itself is so simple and elegant, which is what Charlie likes to play and likes to, design, and I like to play. I like things that have some simplicity to it, but have lots of depth, and that's what this game does. The turns are super simple. It has a row of cards, and you're simply gaining these cards, which you're going to use to then build your time through history. You're going through like time travel. And it's very interesting because as you do this, you're building your trek, which is like going in chronological time. And you're gonna be building this, and you're going to be like trying to get the longest chronological time possible, because at the end of the game, the more cards you're able to put in sequential order through history of time, the more points you get. It's like end game points. But you also have this card in front of you that you are basically placing resources on as you gain cards and things like that. And you're placing them on there to unlock bonuses, to unlock points. And there's different ways on columns and rows that you need to place these things in order to unlock these things. So it's like a little abstract mini puzzle on your board, but you're also trying to do something chronologically, and those are sometimes at wits with each other. It's super interesting. There's different cards that come out in different eras of the different rounds of the game. But I mean, from a mechanical standpoint, it's super simple. But from like a depth perspective, it's awesome. And the production just knocks it out of the park. This has like feelings of like a Century Spice Road style of thing, but I like this one even better. That's how highly I think of this game. So if you're looking for like a family game that you can play with family, it's not too complicated, breezy turns, but still has a lot of layers of depth there, looks awesome, has great production, you're gonna wanna check out Trekking Through History. All right, here we go. Children Game of the Year. This is Museum Suspects. This is designed by Phil Walker Harding, who is one of my favorite designers, and it's from Blue Orange Games. They always do great kids games and adult games too. This game has adorable art. I mean, it's just so cute to look at. This is similar to, I'd say, like Guess Who, like that deduction game that pretty much most people know about. But there's more of a game here. You're gaining clues. You're trying to find the thief, the museum suspect. You're trying to find the one that stole the stuff from the museum. And you're gaining clues, but you're also possibly bluffing about how good the clue is that you got. Because when you look at a clue, you're going to be putting a number down there from one of your tokens. And if somebody else goes to look at that clue, they have to put that number or higher. And you only have so many of each number. So, but then you're also placing one of your tokens that has a number face down on one of the people every turn that you think might be the suspect. And there's a lot of information to gain from that. Someone got a clue and they guessed this person. Okay, does that mean that maybe they're in the bottom right quadrant? Does that mean that that person has a hat? Or are they completely bluffing, trying to throw me off? There's different levels you can play this game at. This is a great children's game, but it's actually a fun, quick deduction game that adults like too. I've played this with Just Gamers and we've had a blast with it. It's just a very good deduction game, but it's good for kids as well. You're also deciding which numbers to use, which one are you going to use for the clues versus which ones are you going to use versus trying to gain the suspects. Because at the end of the game, once you learn who the suspect is, you'll get points based upon the number that you placed face down on them. So you might have to use some of your higher numbers to get a clue that you think is the clue that you need, but then you won't have that for guessing which one it is. It's a good balance here, lots of strategy, light strategy here. You could be bluffing. When you pick which suspect you think it is, as the game goes on, you could be putting them face down. You could put multiples there on subsequent turns. You could be totally bluffing people out. It doesn't matter. So you can play this game at different levels is what I'm saying. And the cool thing is at the end, there could be just one thief, there could be no thieves, and there could be multiple thieves. And depending on that, it scores differently. If you think there's no thief, there's a special spot. You could place your token. If there's no thief, you'll get points if you went there. It's such a clever game. It's a beautiful game. It's awesome. It's easy to teach. It's fun for kids, but awesome for adults, which is why it's also, now this one is ages 8 and up. I assume you could probably play it with younger kids. It just depends on the kids. They all vary. But that is my children's game of the year, Museum Suspects. All right, so here we are, my #1 cooperative game of the year. This one is very interesting because it's from North Star Games, and it is and also a deductive, cooperative, limited communication tile laying game, but it's pure deduction. Paint the Roses. And the reason why that's so interesting to me is because I just talked about decorum, which is super unique. Paint the Roses is very unique. But when I played Paint the Roses, I thought, I can't really think of a whole lot of other games, maybe any of them, that is all of that. Cooperative, pure deduction, tile laying, limited communication. And I'm like, the only other game in my brain that I could think, even after doing some research, was decorum, which is crazy. It's my #2. And the interesting thing is, you would think the only 2 games I could think of that had all those things together, you'd be like, well, they must feel the same. They feel completely different. But they are the only things that are those things that I can think of. It's just a really interesting dichotomy here. So Paint the Roses is a game where you're trying to basically fill the garden up for the Queen of Hearts. It's a Alice in Wonderland theme. And if you don't do it in time or she catches you, off with your heads, you're all dead. So you're cooperatively trying to do it. And again, limited communication. You're taking a tile, you're placing it, and then all players are placing cubes on there based upon how many things that tile can match with their secret goal. Now your secret goal is going to be, easy, medium, or hard, and you're trying to learn that. But each round you've got to guess at least one. You got to guess one person's goal, and if you get it right, that's great. You'll move, but so will the queen. If you guess it wrong, you don't move, but the queen moves double. And so as you get on and on, you get better and better, you'll get a big lead on the queen, but towards the end, she's going to start catching up on you pretty quickly, and it gets really tense. There is a lot of stuff in this game. I've played at different player counts. It works great with 2. It works really well with the higher player counts as well. But it's a logic and deduction game where there's so much to think about. There's so much meta in there of the strategy between it. If you're we obviously want to get our goals done, but we want the player who's going to be going next to get their goal guessed. So they have the most be able to give us the most information when they're about to draw a tile. We also want to keep as much variety as we can in the thing. So often in the game, you're like, well, if it was this, they would have put this tile here. Or if it was this, they wouldn't have taken that tile because it would have done this. And there's a lot of inferring that's done that when you get it down, you're like, oh, it's 50-50, but it's not really a lot of times because you can infer on what they did do or what they didn't do based upon what's out there. And there's just that level of like non-communicative thing, this synergy that's hard to explain, but the game is fantastic. A friend of mine that you see on the channel all the time, Greg, does not like pure deduction games. Anything that has like a sheet like this where you're keeping notes, he typically doesn't like. He loved it. I couldn't believe it. A deduction game that I could play with somebody that doesn't like deduction games. Now, I don't think that's going to happen for everybody. You still have to, I don't know. Not everyone's going to like this game. This isn't for everybody. But if you like pure deduction games, and you like cooperative games, you like limited communication games, you like tile laying, this one's fantastic. Paint the roses. So here we are, #1 strategy game of the year. And this is a game that was my #1 pre-Gen Con. I came out with a video that said top 10 games I've already played that are going to be at Gen Con. And this was on that list. That was my #1. And this is called Planet Unknown. This game is a polyomino game where you're drafting a polyomino off this really cool Lazy Susan thing. And you're drafting a polyomino and you're placing it on your own board. And these polyominoes have different terrain types, and each one that you place will give you a different type of action. And each player has their own little player board where you're moving up different tracks. The game has asymmetry where everyone can have a different board, so everyone has different abilities and different things they can do on their tracks. And you're going through that way. There's also goals that you can set as private goals and or public goals between you and your neighbor. Have the most of this, have the least of that, have the this and that. There's also different things as you place tiles at different asteroids and different things are going to come out. And you've got to clear those things out or they stop you from scoring because you're trying to finish the whole globe. Because for every row and column you finish, you're going to get points. But if there's an asteroid in those columns, you're not getting those. So you're trying to clear those off. You do that by moving rovers around and taking those off. You're trying to save people by getting the life pods out. So you're moving rovers around. You're doing all these different things. You're building your civ and tech tree of getting different, more powerful abilities. There's wild ones, polyominoes that allow you to move things around. This game has a lot going on for it, a lot of different things to think about. But mechanically, it's streamlined and simple. On your turn, draft a tile, place it, take the actions. That's it, right? But there's so much to think about and so many different strategies to take, and it's awesome. Again, this is right up my alley because its mechanics they don't get in their own way. It's streamlined and smooth, tons of depth. Tons of replayability. You can even play with different planets. So all those sort of feel a little bit differently. It's fantastic. You just got all these different things all over the place that you could do. Tons of replayability, asymmetry, polyomino. If you like polyomino style games, this may have eclipsed Barren Park as my favorite one. I don't know that yet. I think I still have to play this one more, but it is that good. Planet Unknown. All right, so now we get to the best game of the year, but you're gonna have to wait till tomorrow when I launch my top 10 games of the year. I will announce it there, unless, of course, you're a Patreon supporter, because by then you'll be getting the videos one day early, and you'll already be watching it right now. And other benefits like first impressions videos on games that I haven't reviewed yet, or maybe won't even get a review done on, voting on which games I review, opening packages for publishers, getting an audio podcast, and all of my videos a day early, so you could watch. You will already know my game of the year if you're watching this, if you're a Patreon supporter. And you can support me at patreon.com/GameBoyGeek. It's been a Game Boy Geek, breaking down barriers, growing relationships with board games, by helping you on the next one you love. Game Toppers not only transforms your existing table to a high-quality gaming solution, they now offer full leg kits and dining cover solutions for the full table application. Paired with their amazing, thematic, premium stitch edge mats from noted board game artists like Vincent Dutray, collapsible cup holders, and really cool accessories, it's a complete system that upgrades every game you play. Go to GameToppersLLC.com or click the link below to late pledge for their latest Game Topper 3.5 Kickstarter campaign.